Welcome, Rock Solid Wrestling fans, to another Rock Solid Wrestling Rewind, looking back at the biggest moments of 2024 through the minds and the vision of those who lived it. With me today is one of Rock Solid Wrestling's most popular superstars, and has been for a number of years now, Scotty the Body. Scotty, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Hey, Adam, thanks for having me.
Let's start by talking about your rivalry with Daddy Davis. Now, you guys had a trilogy of Canadian Heavyweight Championship matches, you against the self-proclaimed father figure of Rock Solid Wrestling. So let's start by talking about that first match the two of you guys had in February, the first main event for Rock Solid Wrestling in 2024. What do you remember about that match?
Oh, we're going way back here. All right. Lots of matches this year. If I remember correctly, I do think that what got us to that match was what happened at the end of 2023 when Daddy won the King of Timmins and then attacked me at the end of the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Once that happened, you had laid down the challenge, giving him an opportunity.
And then we kicked off 2024 with that, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it was nice definitely getting some revenge on that. Daddy took a shot at the end of 2023, and I kicked off 2024 with another victory. So it was definitely a good one.
He took a shot early on the year and he missed. But of course, as always, you weren't done with Daddy yet. At the Spring Meltdown event, you found yourself without an opponent. And then Daddy Davis managed to earn himself another shot against you in a triple threat match earlier on in the night. So what I'd like to do is talk a bit about the challenges of preparing for one opponent, a guy you thought you were going to be facing, and then last minute needing to prepare for someone completely different.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think you can prepare for that. In this business, you got to work. You got to work on the fly. You got to adapt and overcome. That's something that is a saying I live by. Adapt and overcome. You never know what life is going to throw your way, and you've just got to roll with the punches. And yeah, Daddy earned, I guess you could say, earned a shot that night. And having been in the ring with Daddy before, I just did what I always do and walked away with another victory to carry on 2024.
Now, I got to ask, at the time, were you hoping that Daddy would get the shot again, seeing as you had just faced him earlier on in the year? Or were you maybe hoping for a newer challenge from someone like, say, Primo Scordino or Big Ben or Supremo, Kid Supremo?
I don't know. I'm always up for new challenges, and I was just whoever came out of that match, I knew wasn't gonna be 100%. So that did work in my favor. I do like to fight honorably, but sometimes if there's a little thing in my favor, I'll take advantage of that too.
Well, you also have to think about the fact that you also had a disadvantage in that up until the end of that match, you didn't know who you would be facing, regardless of those three guys, right? They knew, okay, once we get past this triple threat, I know that I can start planning for Scotty. You, on the other hand, had a whole lot less time to prepare. And when you're talking about the three guys in that match, right? Such a varying difference in styles. And so to have to come up with a new game plan on the fly, like I dare any championship football team or hockey team, like, okay, sure, we're just going to change up our styles we're going to get a brand new team in here at the last second. You wouldn't see that in mixed martial arts. You wouldn't see that in boxing, but pro wrestling, we got to work on the fly sometimes. So, I know that what you're saying, you had a little bit of an advantage. Those guys worked a bit earlier, but they had a much larger preparation advantage. So, it was the scales of justice weren't as unbalanced as many would say.
No, and again, at the end of the day, I had a title to defend. So it didn't matter who walked through that curtain, who stepped in the ring with me. I got to do my best. And that's what I did that night.
Now, it was decided that the only way to finish things between you and Davis was to make it a trilogy, and not only a third party being added to the match, but a humiliating stipulation.
I know where you're going with this. Yep.
You faced Daddy Davis and Asher Benjamin in a diaper match with the Canadian Heavyweight Championship on the line. So I have to ask, why would you put yourself in that situation to go up against two guys and potentially a huge humiliating moment?
Yeah, I could have lost my title and been the one wearing a diaper, but just the opportunity to once again get my hands on Asher Benjamin with the amount of times he stuck his nose in my business over the years, not just 2024, but over the years. And as satisfying as it was to put Asher through a table back in 2023, to be able to have him wear a diaper and just, those moments, pictures and social media, all that kind of stuff like that, that's a moment that lasts. And
No,
I'm glad that I walked out as a victor with that one for sure.
yeah, ultimately you did win that match, and you made a lot of fans and some of your peers very
Yeah,
happy by watching Asher Benjamin be humiliated in the middle of the ring. So thank you, Scotty. Get that
you're
trending on
very
social
welcome. Very welcome.
media. Now, that brings us to your summer series with Cody Deaner, a pair of matches that some would say were the best main events Rock Solid Wrestling put on in 2024. So let's start with your match against him at Vendetta. Tell us about how things escalated between the two of you guys, because you're fighting on live TV, and by the middle of that match, it started off friendly, but you guys were throwing some pretty live rounds by the end of it. Tell us about that experience and how that led to what some would have considered a pretty intense backstage confrontation afterwards.
Well, Cody was the previous champ and always deserving of a title shot in Rock Solid Wrestling. And yeah, things did get a little heated in there. You got two men competing for the Rock Solid Wrestling Canadian Heavyweight Championship. Things are going to get ugly, as much as we're both fan favorites and, have respect for one another. There are no friends when the belt is on the line. And that's what it got to. And during that match, if I do remember correctly, I think he tweaked his knee just a little bit in that match. And what happened afterwards, I just went to go check on him. Just, make sure he was okay. Like, hey, no hard feelings. But he had some hard feelings. He lost. And for Cody, I know what the title means to him. And he saw that as another opportunity that had slipped away. And he was close. It was a close match. He said he was, this much, one more second and he would have had me. But the fact of the matter is he didn't. And I think that got underneath his skin. And he wanted one more shot. And as the fighting champion that I am, and again, with everything that Cody Deaner has done for Rock Solid Wrestling over the years, he definitely deserves a title shot anytime. So I was more than happy to oblige with another round.
It seemed at times that maybe you were a little frustrated with Cody's reaction to the loss. Were you a little bit insulted by the fact that he couldn't accept that maybe you had gotten the better of him that night? Did you feel maybe a little bit disrespected?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. You win some, you lose some. And sometimes it is, hey, back of the line. There are other deserving members on Rock Solid Wrestling that want a shot. And that's a tough thing for a tough pill for some people to swallow. But again, like I said, Cody was a fighting champion over the years, although he never did give me a title shot. And I thought, you know what, I'd be the better man in this situation. You want another shot? Again, I'm a fighting champion, so I'd put that belt up against anyone.
Well, the two of you did have a rematch at Shake the Lake that was in many ways even better than your first. Talk about the feeling you had in the building that night, the energy of the
Oh
crowd,
man.
and what it meant to defeat Cody Deaner definitively in two high profile matches this year. That had to really affect you.
Well, yeah, you look at Cody's record. That doesn't happen. I don't think anyone has done that to Cody Deaner. His record speaks for itself. And the energy in that building, man, as much as I've got the bod squad behind me, he's definitely got the little Deaners chanting DDT, and just the electricity of both sides of that just collided in the ring. And you could see that definitely fed both of us in that match. And once again, I walked out victorious and very, very honored to be able to do that, because again, you look at Cody's record, I don't think anyone's been able to do that, and maybe never will.
You had some really high moments in the ring, but also some really cool ones outside of it as well. You participated in a very personal, very cool fundraiser event this year in which you got to show off Rock Solid Wrestling a little bit in your community. Tell us a little bit about that and how that all came about.
Yeah, I was approached by uh, members of the 705. It's a club in Barrie, and they offer free. It's free services for people who are suffering from mental health, addictions, just all kinds of stuff. It's all free help, and they needed money to stay open and to offer these services. And mental health is something that I take great pride in, being able to help people with that. It's something I do on the side as well. And people with addictions, they're all people too, but they've got to want the help. You can't help someone who doesn't want it. And for those that do want the help, there is the 705. So yeah, I was approached by them to help raise funds for it, and I had to be stuck in a window for 24 hours, like a department store window kind of thing. And anyone who was watching or walking by had to offer donations to give me basic necessities. Like if I wanted a coffee or something to eat, I was in there with nothing. Rock Solid made a very generous donation and it was able to get me a steak dinner. And yeah, even something as like an air mattress or a fan. It was in the summertime. It was in July. It was hot in that window, and lots of people stepped up and helped out, and they raised. I'll have to confirm this. I'm pretty sure it was $12,000 or $11,700 we raised that day, myself and the other fundraisers as well. It wasn't just me, but collectively we all raised, almost $12,000 to keep that place going. So, and it's still going now. And they've offered a lot of help to a lot of people. Some people that I used to know, and yeah, it's a good cause.
Such a cool thing that you do for the community. And I mean, that's what makes you a champion, both in the ring and out of it. All right. It's time to talk about Jake O'Reilly. You defeated him at Valor 2 after Asher Benjamin's interference backfired. And then you were all set to face your former rival Tornado at Anarchy in Angus. And suddenly, halfway through the event, Tornado decides to go after the Canadian Tag Team Championship with Darko, and you're left without an opponent. Now, you, of course, could have taken the night off. You absolutely had that option. Your opponent walked away. You could have won by forfeit. But you issued an open challenge, and out comes Jake O'Reilly. The two of you have a classic contest, and Jake ends up ending your second reign as Canadian heavyweight champion. Walk us through that entire night, finding out about Tornado, the decision to issue the open challenge, what you were thinking and feeling when Jake walked out, and of course the match itself. But I really want to know about that handshake with Jake afterwards, because I mean, look, I've never been a champion in my life, but I could say I don't know that I would have had that kind of grace to do that afterwards. So take us through the whole night, man. What was that night like at Anarchy in Angus?
It was unreal. Again, Anarchy in Angus is is a very special show to me personally. That's my hometown, and yeah, the way all the events, like I said, the way the course of events that happened. Tornado, the old dirty master, up to his old tricks again, decides to go for the tag titles, and then that leaves a vacancy for me. And of course, me being the fighting champion, I didn't come to my hometown to just hang in the crowd with my family and friends. I wanted to give them a fight, and I'm wondering if that was all part of the plan to begin with. Like, I didn't even know Jake O'Reilly was in the building that night, and maybe that was something that Asher had planned with Tornado. Like to try and catch me off guard again, adapt and overcome, working on the fly, and just the handshake, everything. There's so many things with that night. Some stuff just doesn't sit right. Obviously, I didn't end 2024 on a high note. Asher did try and stick his nose in our business that match, and O'Reilly wasn't having it. And I thought maybe, again, looking back on things, it's a different story. But in that moment, I thought, okay, hey, maybe, he's changed a little bit. He said some things before the match too that really struck home, and he gave it that night. We both did. And, I should have known better. If you watch towards the end of the match, I said, if he's got just a little bit of ounce of air left in him, he's going to keep fighting. And I thought I had him. Maybe I took things a little bit lightly. I don't even know. He got that pin at the last second. I thought he was down, and the handshake was just, I don't know. I really don't know. It was just, I had respect for him after that match. It was a hard fought match. We both brought it, and I still haven't been able to see the match, but from what I've heard from others, that was probably match of the year for Rock Solid Wrestling. So I don't know. I think I would need to watch it again myself to maybe give better insight as to what happened that night. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely wasn't happy with how 2024 ended.
There are some out there that believe maybe you pushed yourself too hard as Canadian heavyweight champion this year, taking on all kinds of challengers, some at the drop of a hat. And a lot of people thought that maybe that ultimately led to you losing the title, going too hard for too fast. What do you think about people who would say that that was ultimately your downfall in Angus?
Mm, I don't see it that way. When you're the champ, it's go time all the time. I did hold that title for the whole year, and if you go back, I held that title I had one little blip in 2023 where Tornado snuck one out on me, and I got the title back. So almost cumulatively, at least 2 years, probably I held that title and was going strong. And it was just, these things happen. 2025 is a new year. I'm not looking back on that little blip that happened in Angus. The same thing. There was a little blip on the road in 2023 with Tornado. One happened this year. 2025 is a new year. And from what I understand, Jake O'Reilly has offered me a rematch.
You're not wrong about that. In fact, on this very program, Jake O'Reilly offered you a rematch in the next year. I think I know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Do you plan on accepting Jake's offer and giving us O'Reilly versus Body 3 sometime next year?
Yeah, definitely. Sometime, anytime next year. Hell, how much time we got left in 2024? What, maybe 18 days left of Christmas right now? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whenever O'Reilly is ready to give me that title shot, I will be ready.
Well, I think you've just given the Rock Solid Wrestling fans a lot to look forward to in the next year. As you said, aside from that very last show in 2024, man, what a year you've absolutely had with Rock Solid Wrestling. I can't wait to see what you do next year as well. Scotty, thanks for joining us, man. What a ride.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Adam. Really appreciate it.
You're watching the action. Now you can get the gear. Get your hands on official Rock Solid Wrestling swag at rocksolidgear.ca. The Rock Solid store features t-shirts, hoodies, and tank tops in several designs and styles. From tumblers to shot glasses, there's something for everyone. So enjoy the hard-hitting action and show your support. Visit rocksolidgear.ca right now.